I wish I could give you some great self-defense tips that we could just put them in little bullet points and it would be like a 30-second little video and then you would have all this self-defense knowledge. God forbid you ever need to use it. But Florida's law on stand your ground immunity, Florida's law on self-defense is, a gray area. It's as clear as mud. I think it's better to talk to you about how Florida addresses specific facts, specific cases, rather than try to conjure up general rules. In general, of course, the stand your ground law is very clear that if somebody pushes you with their hand and it's not deadly force, you don't get to pull a gun on them or a knife and use deadly force when they haven't used deadly force. So we know that there are some guidelines in terms of, folks, don't overreact. Okay, please don't overreact, because then you're going to get charged. And we're going to talk about Demond Moore versus the state of Florida. This is a case that happened in Davenport. And here's what happened. The police get called to this area in Davenport because this gal, Offit, was acting a little crazy. She was a little drunk. She was dancing in the street. And when the cops got there to talk to Offit, she didn't really pay much attention to him. She actually started rapping to the cops. I'd like to get a hold of that body cam footage just to see how the rapping was, but that's what she was doing. It's literally in the case, not the lyrics of the rap, but just the fact that when the cops showed up to address her disturbance, she's not talking to them, but she's spitting lyrics. Okay, I respect. I don't know how many verses she dropped or hooks, whatever the case may be. The cops leave and go, this woman is no danger to herself and no danger to anyone else. Guess what? Demond Moore is chilling on his front porch, or outside actually, not really on his porch, and he falls asleep in his chair, which I totally respect. Except that he gets woken up by Offit, who is attacking him with another chair. Now, this is just crazy. He fights her off, and he doesn't call the police or anything. He just, Offit leaves. Now that he's awake, what does he do? He goes and grabs himself another beer out of his car, out of his truck, the bed of his truck, which is a little ways away from where he was just attacked by her. Now, as he's getting this beer, Offit comes out of nowhere and starts attacking him again. She points a gun at him. And the testimony is that for about a half an hour, Moore is fighting this woman. Nobody comes to Moore's rescue, I guess. Nobody knows what's going on. Moore gets the gun from Offit, shoots Offit in the leg. She dies from that leg injury. Now, I thought it was probably a pretty decent move to shoot in the leg, but that was enough to eventually kill her, and Moore is charged with second-degree murder. So Moore's attorney does what any good attorney would do on a self-defense case, and that is files for stand your ground immunity, saying, my client, Mr. Moore, is immune from prosecution. You got to throw out the second-degree murder case because we believe he has stand your ground immunity. So the judge looks at this, they have a hearing, and the judge says, you know what, Moore, you have met your burden to show that you are entitled to immunity, but that's only half this fight, right? Because the second half of the fight, just to let you guys know, is the state then gets to present evidence. The burden shifts to the state, and the state, by clear and convincing evidence, now can prove that he's not entitled to immunity. And that's exactly what they did. They showed that Moore was not entitled to immunity under these facts. But what's interesting is that Moore did not testify at this hearing, right? He submitted a sworn document, and the motion that was sufficient to meet the first hurdle. But the court said something interesting, said, I'm gonna find that you're not entitled to immunity. You didn't testify at this hearing, and I'm using your silence against you, number one. And the court did a couple other things. So the appellate court reviews this, right? This is a brand new case. On appeal, the court said, no. You can't use Moore's silence as evidence that he wasn't defending himself. That's ridiculous. And also, the court just found that, in fact, the facts were sufficient to where Moore is entitled to stand your ground immunity. Case is thrown out. The court said, that second-degree murder case that you have pending, that you're charged with, it's gone. It's out the door. So under these facts, in this particular case, Moore's murder charge was thrown out. That's all I got for you today. Folks, if you get into any sort of trouble, of course, in Central Florida, well, you know where to find me. Otherwise, I hope that you'll like or subscribe to the channel because that helps us out too. Thanks for watching.